Hello neighbors, it's Brad here from eTrailer, and today we are taking a look and installing the eTrailer trailer hitch receiver on a 2025 Nissan Pathfinder. And adding a trailer hitch receiver to any vehicle is a great addition, whether you're taking bikes out on an adventure, a cargo carrier on vacation, or you need to do some work and tow a trailer. This is going to be the best starting point to really accomplish all of that. And the eTrailer is one of my personal favorites, so let's take a closer look and see why. So right out the gate, one of the best things is this is a hidden cross tube. So when it's installed, the only thing you're going to see on the bottom of the vehicle is going to be the receiver tube opening and the safety chain loop. So you get all the best OEM look without really detracting away from it, but all the usability of your trailer hitch receiver. And this one being a 2" by 2" means that it's going to be the kind of the standard size for trailer hitch receivers, which makes it really nice for you when choosing accessories. A lot of your bike racks, cargo carriers, and ball mounts are going to come in that 2" by 2" configuration. And all of those are going to stay in place with a 5/8 pin and clip. Now, a lot of your accessories do come with a pin and clip included, sometimes even anti-rattle ones or locking ones, which is really nice. But if they don't, and you're maybe planning on leaving your bike rack on for the season or taking accessories on vacation, and you want to make sure they don't disappear, a locking pin and clip is a great deterrent from anyone just walking by, pulling out that pin and clip and taking those accessories with them. Now, something you may also notice is going to be the matte black powder coat finish on the eTrailer hitch. And I personally love this compared to some of the other brands out there that use a gloss black, not only because it matches up with the plastics on the vehicle really well, it's a little more stealth, but also it holds up to chips and scratches a lot better. I've installed a ton of different trailer hitches, and consistently, these ones always look the best as far as chips and scratches. They hold up really, really well. Now, something that's going to be important, if you're planning on pulling a trailer, not only do you want to adhere of the weight capacities of the hitch, but also of the vehicle. So take a look at the owner's manual. Just because the hitch is rated for something that's pretty high doesn't mean the vehicle is, whether it be for the drivetrain, suspension, or transmission. So make sure you take the lowest number, that way you're not overloading. And as far as the trailer hitch receiver, this is rated really well at 6,000 pounds for your gross trailer weight rating, and that's going to be the weight of the trailer plus the accessories loaded onto it. Your tongue weight rating is really, really good at 900 pounds. That's the downward pressure on the inside of the receiver tube opening and really accounts for a lot of your suspended accessories like cargo carriers and bike racks. And with 900 pounds, I really highly doubt you're going to overload that. You'll be able to load up a 4-bike rack, no problem, or a cargo carrier on vacation, and I really don't worry that you're going to go over those capacities. Now, speaking of towing, this can be used with a weight distribution hitch, and a lot of times it's going to give you a better towing experience, and sometimes it'll bump up capacities on the hitch. That's not the case here. You can use one, but all your numbers are going to stay exactly the same. And speaking of towing, you are going to be hooking up safety chains when towing a trailer. So you may notice a clevis style works just fine on our rolled style safety chain loops. Same with a standard S hook. Even a larger clevis style is going to work out just fine here. So let's get a few quick measurements. The first one is really going to make sure that your accessories that fold are able to work with this vehicle. Sometimes you can get bike racks and cargo carriers that'll fold up, which is really nice. It shortens the entire length of the vehicle and allows you to keep that accessory on when not loaded. But sometimes you run into issues where it hits the fascia because the receiver tube's a little too far back. I don't think that's going to be the case here, considering from the center of our hitch pin hole to the furthest point, it's about 3 inches. So I really don't worry that you're going to have any issues there. Now, keep in mind, you're probably going to be blocking your license plate and your backup camera, and more than likely, you're going to have to fold that down to gain access to your rear hatch. But overall, kind of a small thing, but something worth keeping in mind. Ground clearance on this from the top of the receiver tube opening to the ground comes in at 16 inches. And that's going to be really helpful if you're choosing a fixed ball mount. When towing a trailer, you really want everything as level as possible. And so making sure you get it dialed in is really going to give you the best towing experience. So the way to figure that out is if you have your trailer available, get it level on ground, and you can measure from the ground to the top of the coupler and take that measurement and compare it with our 16 inches. From there, you can determine the rise or drop necessary to get that fixed ball mount just perfect. On this one, more than likely, I would guess it to be a straight shank or a slight rise. Now, you can always get an adjustable ball mount to account for a bunch of different trailers so you can get it all level, but this should get you in the right direction. Now you're probably on this page because you want to see what it takes to get this installed, and I'm here to tell you this one is pretty easy to do. I've actually installed 3 hitches today on this vehicle, and they're all very similar, so if you're looking at other brands, you're really not going to run into any variances. They're pretty simple to do in your driveway or garage in about an hour, give or take, but the basic rundown is going to be lowering down your spare tire to give you space to put the hitch up. There's a little bit of trimming required just to make room for our receiver tube opening. And then you do need to lower down the muffler just to gain access to the weld nuts that are on the frame. But really just raise the hitch up, tighten and torque those down, and that's about it. So you don't have to be super mechanical to get this installed, and I'll be here to walk you through step by step. But if you also watch the video and say, you know what, I don't have the time, the place, the tools, or even the want to do that myself, but I still need a trailer hitch, if that's the case, you can find someone close to you by using our dealer locator. You'll simply put in your zip code, you'll find a list of shops close to you that can tackle that install, as well as maybe trailer wiring or any other accessories you may want at the same time. That way you can be out on the road enjoying those adventures and not worrying about the install. But for those of you that are DIYers and going to be tackling this on your own at home, I'm here to walk you through it, so let's take a look. To begin our installation, the first thing we're going to want to do is lower down our spare tire. That's going to give us space to raise up our hitch eventually. So to do that, if you've never lowered down your spare tire on your Pathfinder, it's actually pretty easy. You'll open up your rear hatch, and in this compartment, you're going to find that there's this circle knob. We'll just quarter turn that, and that's going to give us access to this large nut, which goes to a cable system that'll lower down the tire. Now, you don't need any special tools here because you can just use your factory tire wrench. So just kind of loosening this up, we have our tool bag here, and we should be able to grab our wrench and get this all lowered down. Now, in the toolkit, there's a lot of tools here, but the best way to do this is if you get this adapter and you put this on, you can grab this T-handle. This will slide in. So you just put the one end here, and then if you grab your tire wrench, you can use this to rotate it down. Now, when we get our hitch raised up, eventually we're going to be having it sliding underneath the muffler, and we'll be tightening down the hardware. So to make this a lot easier to get all of our tools up there and feeding the hardware up, we are going to lower down the muffler. It's pretty easy to do with this isolator. So what I recommend doing is prying off the top one here, and a lot of times what I'll do is just grab a pry bar, and you can use the exhaust hanger as leverage. So if you can kind of get behind this and just work this out. This one has grease on it, which is kind of interesting, maybe from the factory, but this should make it a little bit easier to pop off. But if it is fighting you, what you can do is put a little silicone spray or soapy water, and that'll help make it easier to pop off and to put back on later. Now, we are going to pop off the one on our rear cross member as well. That should give us a little bit of wiggle room. And we have another hanger that's kind of further up. So this is going to support itself. So once we pop this off, just be aware it can drop a little bit. So this one, same thing, we'll just pry off our isolator. Again, you can use that rear subframe as leverage, but well, my whole thing came off, which is fine. We'll just put that back on later. So at this point though, you can see this will be enough for us to move it around to be able to get everything in place. Now before we raise our hitch up, we are going to have to make a little bit of clearance for it on this lower part of the fascia. And it's just a small amount that we'll have to trim out, but our receiver is going to sit right here. So we need to cut this out before we raise the hitch up, otherwise it's not going to fit. So I've taped this out. There's measurements in the instruction manual that you can follow. The painter's tape is a nice visual representation, but it also gives you nice clean lines to follow. And as far as cutting, really whatever you have handy that's you're comfortable using for cutting, so whether it be a Dremel, angle grinder, you could use a utility knife if you take your time. I like using an oscillating tool or a multi-tool. These make really clean lines and it's easy to get this cut out. So speaking of that, let's get this cut out and then we can come back and file anything down that might be rough. Now with that cut out, you may have some burrs, and if that's the case, you can take a file to it, or even just a putty knife or a flat blade, you can run that across there just to clean it up a little bit, because this is going to be the finished product. Every time you hook something up to your hitch, you want to make sure it's nice and clean. So take the time, we'll get this all cleaned up, And now's a good time to also grab an extra set of hands so we can get this hitch raised up. Now, before we raise this up, and I have my extra set of hands here, Chasten's going to help us out, but I do want to set up our hardware. On each side, you're going to want at least one bolt with a conical tooth washer. Those teeth are going to bite into the metal on the hitch, so just make sure you have it in the proper orientation. And then as we raise this up, we'll just make sure that the receiver tube opening slides into that slot where we cut it. And then underneath, just line up one of the 3 holes and get that bolt started. And once you have one started on each side, it'll support itself. You can continue putting the rest of the hardware in. And once all your hardware is started, you do want to make sure that the hitch is centered up. There's just a little bit of room side to side that you can shift this. So it's a great chance to make sure it's lined up properly before snugging everything down. And to get this tightened down, we're going to be using a 19mm socket. Now, you don't need to get crazy here. We just want to draw everything up because we're going to come back with our torque wrench to do that final tightening down. So now with everything snugged down, we'll just grab our torque wrench. The torque settings are found in the instruction manual, so we'll dial it in, use that same 19mm socket, and properly torque all these down. Now, if you don't have a torque wrench, this is going to be an important step because with weld nuts, you want to make sure obviously this is going to be tight enough to tow anything down the road or use your accessories, but also you can over tighten it and put damage on those weld nuts. So the torque wrench really makes sure that it's perfectly dialed in. So if you can't borrow one from a neighbor, what you can do is go to an auto parts store and rent one for free. You're just going to need to torque down these 6 bolts, and then that's really all you need it for. So we'll get ours all torqued down, and we're in the home stretch. With all those torqued down properly, all that's left to do is get our exhaust isolators put back in, put up our spare tire, get that raised up. We can then load up our accessories, put it in our pin and clip, and we're ready to hit the road. Now, hopefully this video was helpful in getting the hitch installed on your Pathfinder, and if it was helpful, please let us know in the comments. But also, if I missed anything or maybe I could have made something a little bit more clear, please also let us know in the comments. All of that feedback really helps us make the best videos possible for neighbors like you that are going to be installing a hitch like this on their Pathfinder. Either way, thanks for joining us for a look and installation of the eTrailer trailer hitch receiver on a 2025 Nissan Pathfinder.